Walker, you call that a push-up? The sergeant's voice cracked through the barracks like rifle fire. Every head snapped his way. Boots froze mid-lace. Conversations cut short, and suddenly all eyes were on me. My chest burned from the drill, but the sting of the laughter cut deeper than muscle fatigue. Too old, too soft, too slow, he barked, spitting the words like they carried poison. A few of the younger recruits snickered loud enough for me to hear, their grins wide, their eyes shining with the relief that, for once, the ridicule wasn't aimed at them. One of them muttered just loud enough, "Grandpa Walker can't keep up." My face didn't move, but inside the words left scars, and the silence that followed was worse than the shouting. No one defended me, not a single voice. That was the barracks for you. Rows of bunks polished tight, boots lined up like soldiers at parade rest, and me, standing out like a rusty nail in a box of fresh steel. I was older than most of the recruits, not by decades, but enough that they noticed. Enough that every crease in my face and every extra second I took to catch my breath became ammunition against me. The military doesn't forgive weakness or even the appearance of it, and I could feel it. The judgment, the eyes on my back, the smirks when I walked past. The sergeant wasn't done. Men, take a good look at Private Walker. This is what happens when you let civilians think they can hang with warriors. Laughter erupted again, and I just stood there, fists tight at my sides, staring straight ahead like the manual taught me. My ears burned. My pride wanted to scream. But I knew if I let one word slip, if I let 1 ounce of temper show, it'd be used against me. Discipline was my only shield. Still, the humiliation hung in the air like smoke after a blast. Later in the mess hall, I thought I'd get a moment to breathe. Just one quiet meal. I loaded up my tray, meatloaf, green beans, cornbread, and found an empty table. The noise of recruits shouting, bragging, trading stories filled the room. I kept my head down. Then a shadow fell over my tray. Coleman, same sergeant who'd shredded me in the barracks, strolled by with a grin. He tapped the edge of my tray and it tumbled to the floor. Meatloaf splattered across my boots. The whole table next to me roared with laughter. Guess Grandpa's dinner belongs on the ground. He didn't even stop walking. Just left me standing there, food dripping off my pants while a dozen recruits howled like it was the funniest thing they'd seen all week. I bent down, picked up the mess piece by piece, and walked it to the trash can. No words, no expression, just steady movements. A few recruits watched me closely, waiting for me to explode, waiting for me to fight back so they'd have something new to laugh about. But I didn't give it to them. My father always said, "A soldier's strength isn't in the punch he throws. It's in the one he holds back." And I held back, even when it felt like the silence was suffocating me. Across the room, one pair of eyes didn't laugh. Corporal Ramirez, young, tough, respected by most of the unit. He didn't say a word, just watched. And in that glance, I caught something different. Pity, maybe, or recognition. But he didn't stand up for me. He didn't say a damn thing. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he wouldn't. In the military, silence is its own kind of survival. That night after lights out, I lay on my bunk staring at the ceiling. The snickers still echoed in my head. Coleman's voice still dug at my ribs like a bayonet. I wanted to believe it would pass, that tomorrow the focus would be on someone else. But deep down I knew. I was marked. Every day from now on, I'd be the weak link, the outsider, the one they measured themselves against to feel strong. My chest tightened at the thought. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out the one thing that steadied me. The challenge coin my father carried through Vietnam. Worn edges, scratched surface, heavy with memories of a man who knew what it meant to endure. I rubbed it between my fingers, the cold metal grounding me. "Don't quit," I whispered to myself. "Don't let them see you break." The barracks were dark, breathing steady around me. Coleman snoring loud in his corner, like he owned the place. I closed my fist tight around the coin and promised myself one thing. If I had to eat dirt every day, I'd eat it. If I had to run until my lungs tore, I'd run. But I wouldn't quit. Not here. Not now. And what I never expected was this. Those same men who laughed, who shoved, who mocked, They were about to see something in me they couldn't forget. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. Rain pounded the training field like nails on steel. The mud was ankle deep, and every lap burned worse than the one before. The drill sergeant's voice carried through the storm. "Walker, move those legs! You're dragging the whole damn platoon!" Every recruit's head snapped toward me. Some smirked. Some rolled their eyes. I just lowered my head and kept running. My boots sucked into the mud with every step. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. If I quit, they'd own me forever. So I ran until my breath came out in ragged gas, until my chest felt like it was on fire. Coleman jogged beside me for a second, rain dripping off his brim, and leaned in just enough so only I could hear. "You'll never make it. Men like you. Too old. Too slow. You're just here to make the rest of us look good." Then he pulled ahead, laughing with two recruits as they splashed past me. I wanted to bite back, wanted to scream, but instead I thought of my father's coin resting in my locker, the cold metal pressed into my palm last night. I just kept running. When we finally hit the line, I collapsed onto the gravel, lungs burning. The others cheered, high-fived. Nobody cheered for me. Coleman walked by and spat near my boot. "Try not to embarrass us tomorrow, Grandpa." The next morning we were at the weapons range. The smell of oil and powder filled the air, the metallic clink of rifle parts echoing as recruits assembled their M4s. My hands weren't moving fast enough. My fingers fumbled with the pin, slipped on the spring. Coleman noticed. Of course he noticed. "Hey, everybody, Walker's building a damn puzzle out here. Somebody get him the kids' edition." Laughter exploded up and down the line. My ears burned. I gritted my teeth, kept my focus on the weapon. Across from me, Ramirez caught my eye. He didn't say a word, but when Coleman turned his back, Ramirez leaned close and whispered, "Rotate the pin clockwise. It'll slide right in." He said it quiet, like he didn't want anyone to hear he was helping me. I did what he said. The piece clicked in smooth. My rifle came together. I didn't thank him. Couldn't. Not here. But I knew. In the chow hall, things weren't any better. I walked through the line, tray in hand, grabbed the usual. Powdered eggs, soggy toast, sausage links that tasted like rubber. I found a seat alone, away from the noise. Didn't matter. A group of recruits spotted me, their voices rising just enough for me to hear. "Hey, Walker, want us to cut that up for you? Don't want you choking." More laughter. I stared at my tray, ate in silence. That was the routine. Get mocked, get ignored, keep moving. The only thing that broke it was Ramirez again, walking past with his own tray. He didn't sit with me. He didn't risk that, but his eyes flicked to mine. Just a second. A look that said, "I see you." It wasn't friendship, not yet, but it was something. Days blurred together, drill after drill, push-ups in the dirt until my arms gave out. Runs in the freezing dark, cleaning rifles until my fingers bled. Every time Coleman found a way to cut me down. Dead weight. Anchor. Grandpa. He'd say it loud enough so everyone laughed, but not loud enough to get written up. He was smart like that, and I let him. Because one day, I knew I'd get my chance. That chance came on a land navigation test in the woods. Each squad was given a map, compass, and grid points. Coleman took charge immediately. "Follow me. I know what I'm doing." But I watched the compass needle swing, saw the mistake in his heading. He was leading us south when we needed to go east. I stayed quiet for the first hour, slogging through underbrush as morale sank. Then I stopped. "We're off course." Coleman spun, his face red. "What did you say, Walker?" "We're off course," I repeated, pointing to the map. "We should be east of the creek. We're still south." He stepped toward me, chest out, trying to make me small. "You think you know better than me? You? You can't even assemble your rifle without help." The others laughed. But Ramirez leaned over his map, checked his compass, then cleared his throat. "He's right, Sergeant. We're off." Coleman froze. The smirk slipped. He barked for silence and marched us east. But every step after that, I felt the shift. They didn't admit it out loud, but they knew. I wasn't as useless as they thought. That night in the barracks, Coleman made sure to erase any doubt. He waited until the lights were dim and most of the guys were in their racks. "Don't get cocky, Walker. One good call doesn't change what you are." He said it low, but the words were meant to stick like knives. I rolled onto my side, staring at the shadows on the wall. I wanted to believe he was wrong. I wanted to believe the others saw me differently. But when I glanced around, I saw them avoiding my eyes, afraid to get caught respecting me. Except Ramirez. He gave me a single nod. Small, barely there. But it was enough to keep me steady. The weeks dragged on, but something inside me shifted. Every insult hit less deep. Every laugh echoed less loud. I ran in the rain until my legs shook, but I finished. I cleaned my rifle until it gleamed. I studied the manuals late at night. Flashlight under the blanket. Quiet. Focused. They thought they were breaking me down. They didn't see I was building something stronger. Then came the storm. Literally. A brutal night drill, thunder shaking the ground, rain cutting like knives. Coleman was in charge again, barking orders, sending us crawling through the mud. My knees sank deep. My arms screamed, but I pushed forward. Lightning split the sky, and in that flash, I saw the truth. Coleman's plan was failing. The squad was scattered, communication lines gone, chaos. Everyone looked to him, but his voice cracked. He didn't know what to do. That was the moment. My moment. I don't know what pushed me up, chest heaving, mud dripping from my face. Maybe it was the weeks of silence. Maybe it was my father's coin in my pocket, burning like fire. But I stood, shouted over the thunder, "On me! Form up on me now!" The squad hesitated. Coleman screamed for them to ignore me, but their eyes shifted. First Ramirez moved, then two more, then all of them. And for the first time, Coleman's voice didn't carry. Mine did. Mine cut through the storm. And they listened. That was the moment everything changed. The man they mocked, the man they called dead weight, was the one they followed through the rain. Coleman's face twisted in shock, fury, disbelief. But it was too late. Authority had shifted, and he knew it. What I never expected was how quiet the barracks felt that night. No laughter, no whispers, just silence. The kind of silence that means respect, or maybe fear. Either way, it was mine. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The night was heavy with fog, the kind that clung to your skin and made every shadow look like an enemy waiting to move. It was the final field exercise, the one that was supposed to separate the soldiers from the pretenders. Coleman strutted at the front of the squad like he was leading a parade, chest puffed, rifle slung just low enough to look casual but ready. He was the designated squad leader, and he wanted everyone to remember it. "Stick close, follow my lead, and don't screw it up," he barked. His eyes cut to me when he said it. The others laughed under their breath. I didn't respond. I just adjusted my pack straps and checked the compass I kept tucked in my pocket. Quiet, steady, waiting. We had to navigate through a wooded valley, hit 3 checkpoints, and set up a defensive perimeter before dawn. It was all simulated, but the stress was real. We were being evaluated by officers hidden in the tree line, grading every move. Coleman marched us down the wrong ridgeline right from the start. I knew it, but I said nothing. I wasn't about to challenge him again. Not yet. He led us straight into a low-lying swamp. Mud sucked at our boots, rifles almost dipping into the water. The younger recruits cursed under their breath. Ramirez fell back beside me. He didn't speak, but his glance said it all. Coleman was screwing this up. Hours passed. By the time we reached the first enemy contact point, we were exhausted and soaked. Sim rounds cracked through the trees, little bursts of paint marking hits. Coleman froze. He shouted for us to take cover, but his voice was high, panicked. Chaos broke out. Soldiers scattered, firing in random directions, no coordination. My gut twisted. This wasn't training anymore. It was humiliation. We looked like amateurs, and Coleman was making it worse. "Ramirez, flank left!" Coleman screamed. But Ramirez was pinned, rounds hitting the tree inches from his helmet. I saw it happen. Ramirez slipped, his ankle twisting as he went down hard. He tried to crawl, but he couldn't move. Coleman didn't even notice. He kept screaming orders that made no sense. The others hesitated, unsure who to follow. That was the breaking point for me. Something inside snapped. I dropped low, crawled through the mud, and grabbed Ramirez under the arms. "I got you," I whispered. He gritted his teeth, pain etched across his face. "Walker, leave me. You'll get lit up." "Not happening." I pulled him back, rounds cracking around us, paint splattering my vest. My legs burned, my arms trembled, but I dragged him behind a log. My heart pounded like a drum, but my mind was calm, clearer than it had ever been. "Cover me," I said. He nodded, lifted his rifle, and laid down fire as I rose to my knees. The squad was still scattered, Coleman screaming nonsense. I stood tall in the chaos and shouted with everything in me, "On me! Now! Form up!" For a split second, nobody moved. Coleman turned, disbelief all over his face. "Shut up, Walker! I'm in charge here!" His voice cracked again, and everyone heard it. Then Ramirez fired a burst, covering the flank, and shouted, "Do what he says!" That was it. One by one, the others moved, crawling, sprinting, sliding into position around me. In less than a minute, the squad was regrouped, rifles steady, eyes on me. Coleman was left shouting into the void, ignored. I took a breath, pointed to the high ground, and gave orders clear and simple. "Johnson, right ridge. Harris, cover the rear. Ramirez, keep suppressing fire." They followed without hesitation, and just like that, the chaos became order. The evaluators kept firing, but now we were coordinated. We moved as one, leapfrogging up the ridge, laying down disciplined fire. My lungs burned, my shoulders screamed under the weight of the pack. But I didn't stop. I wasn't the old man dragging behind anymore. I was the one leading, the one they trusted to keep them alive, even in a simulation. Coleman scrambled to keep up, red-faced, muttering curses, but nobody was listening. He had lost them. Authority had shifted, and it was never going back. We reached the ridge, set up a defensive perimeter, and held it. When the whistle blew, signaling the end of the exercise, I collapsed to one knee, mud dripping from my gear. The squad gathered, breathing heavy, eyes wide. Ramirez patted my shoulder. "You saved my ass out there," he said, voice low. I just nodded, too tired to speak. Then the evaluators stepped from the trees. One of them, a captain with sharp eyes, studied the group. "Interesting leadership choices tonight," he said. His gaze shifted from Coleman to me. "Tell me, Sergeant Coleman, who was actually in charge?" Coleman stammered. I gave the orders." The captain raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because from what I saw, nobody was listening to you. They were listening to him." His finger pointed straight at me. The silence was deafening. Coleman's jaw tightened. His fist clenched. The recruits glanced at each other, unsure if they should admit it. Ramirez broke the silence. "Walker took command when we needed him. He held us together." That was the nail in the coffin. Coleman's face went pale. The captain stepped closer, his voice sharp. "Private Walker, step forward." My boots sank into the mud as I moved. I stood at attention, heart pounding, unsure what was coming. The captain studied me. "You've been here before, haven't you?" The question hit me like a round to the chest. I hesitated. "Yes, sir." "Where?" His eyes were steel. The whole squad leaned in, waiting. My throat was dry, but I forced the words out. "I completed Ranger School years ago, left the Army when my father got sick, re-enlisted after he passed, didn't tell anyone." Gas rippled through the squad. Coleman's mouth hung open. You're a Ranger?" He spat. His voice was venom, but it couldn't hide the tremor underneath. I didn't answer him. I just stared straight ahead. The captain nodded slowly. "Explains a lot. You didn't quit. You didn't break. You led when it mattered." He turned to the squad. "That's what leadership looks like. Not screaming, not ego. Calm under fire." His words hit like thunder. Coleman looked like he'd been punched in the gut. For weeks he had mocked me, humiliated me, built himself up by tearing me down. And in one night, one exercise, it all crumbled. Authority had reversed in front of everyone. No shouting could fix it. No denial could erase what they'd seen. Back at the barracks, the air was different. Nobody laughed when I walked in. Nobody muttered "Grandpa" under their breath. They were quiet, respectful, even afraid. Coleman sat on his bunk, staring at the floor, fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Ramirez passed me in the aisle, gave a nod, this time not subtle, not hidden, a real nod. Recognition, the kind you can't fake. I lay down on my bunk, stared at the ceiling, and pulled my father's coin from my pocket. I turned it in my hand, the metal cold against my skin. For the first time, I felt like I had earned it again. And that's when I realized something. The laughter, the humiliation, the silence. They had all been building to this moment. Every insult, every shove, every smirk. Without them, I might never have found the strength to rise. Without them, I might not have remembered what kind of soldier I truly was. The old man they mocked had become the leader they needed, and there was no going back. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The barracks felt different after that night. You could hear it in the silence, the way boots scuffed softer against the concrete floor, the way voices lowered when I passed. Nobody said "Grandpa" anymore. Nobody laughed. They didn't have to say it out loud. The shift was in the air. Respect, fear, maybe both. And Coleman hated it. You could see it in the way he sat on his bunk, arms crossed tight, eyes burning holes in the floor. The man who never shut up suddenly had nothing to say. At chow the next morning, the whole room went quiet when I walked. Inteen, trays clattered, forks paused mid-bite. Coleman was already at a table, surrounded by the guys who used to laugh the loudest at his jokes. They weren't laughing now. He slammed his fork down. "Don't you people forget what he is," he snapped. "One lucky night doesn't change the truth. He's weak. He cut himself off because the room was staring at him, not laughing. Ramirez stood up slowly from his own table. "Say what you want, Sergeant," he said, voice steady. "But when it mattered, you froze. And he didn't." Coleman's jaw clenched. He shoved his tray away and stormed out, muttering curses under his breath. It should have felt good. Vindication. But I wasn't celebrating. I sat down alone, poked at my eggs, and thought about how fast things turn in this place. One day you're the joke, the next you're the example. Neither one felt right. I didn't want worship any more than I wanted ridicule. I just wanted to be a soldier. Later that week, the commander called for a squad briefing. We stood lined up, boots polished, rifles at our sides. He paced slow, his eyes heavy on us. "I've been watching," he said finally. "I've seen strength, I've seen failure, and I've seen leadership." His gaze stopped on me. "Walker, step forward." My stomach dropped. I obeyed, every eye drilling into me. The commander studied me for a long moment, then turned to the squad. "Some of you mocked this man, some of you dismissed him, but when pressure hit, he didn't break. He led. That's the standard." The words hit hard. Pride burned in my chest, but so did shame for all the nights I'd let their laughter cut me down. The commander looked at Coleman next. "And some of you abused your position. Authority isn't about noise. It's about results." Coleman shifted uncomfortably. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He wanted to argue, but he knew better. The commander dismissed us, but the damage was done. Coleman wasn't the same after that. That night in the barracks, he finally snapped. He cornered me by the lockers, voice low and sharp. "You think you've won? You think one moment erases everything?" His face was inches from mine, red with rage. "You'll always be the old man dragging behind. They'll forget this and go back to laughing." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even look at him. "Maybe, but you'll always be the one who froze." His fist clenched. For a second I thought he'd swing, but he didn't. He just glared, breathing hard before storming out again. Ramirez had been watching from his bunk. He didn't say anything right away. Then quietly, "He's finished. Everyone saw it." The next day confirmed it. During drills, Coleman gave an order. Nobody moved. They looked at him, then at me. His face twisted with rage, but he couldn't do a thing. Authority doesn't come back once it's gone. He shouted, he cursed, he threatened, but it was over. The squad followed me without words, and he knew it. The climax came during inspection that weekend. The commander walked the line, eyes sharp, boots echoing. He stopped in front of Coleman. "Sergeant, step forward." Coleman obeyed, stiff, pale. The commander's voice cut like steel. Effective immediately, you're relieved of squad leadership. You've lost their trust, and you've lost mine. Gasps rippled down the line. Coleman's eyes went wide, his jaw trembling. Sir, you can't. I just did. Silence. Pure silence. Coleman's face drained of color as he stepped back into formation. The squad stared straight ahead, but you could feel the electricity in the air. Everyone knew what that meant. His career would never be the same. After formation broke, Ramirez walked beside me. You earned this, he said simply. Not with talk, with action. It was the first time anyone had spoken it out loud. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. The barracks that night felt heavier than ever. The laughter was gone for good. In its place was something quieter. Respect. Uneasy respect, but real. I lay on my bunk, staring at the ceiling, the coin turning in my fingers. I thought about my father, about all the nights I nearly quit, all the times I swallowed humiliation. And now here I was, not the joke, not the ghost in the corner, but the one they looked to. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just held the coin tighter and promised myself I'd honor it, because respect wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The last week of training crept in with a strange calm. No shouting, no mocking. Even the air in the barracks felt lighter, like a storm had passed and left silence behind. For the first time, I wasn't the target. Coleman kept to himself, barely speaking, his pride buried under the weight of what had happened. The squad looked to me now, not with jokes or jeers, but with quiet nods, subtle respect. It was an unfamiliar feeling. For weeks I'd been the shadow in the corner. Now suddenly I was someone they listened to, someone they followed. One night, after lights out, Ramirez sat up on his bunk across from me. The moonlight cut a faint glow across his face. You know, he said, his voice low so no one else would hear, they only got through this because of you. I shook my head. We all got through it together. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Don't do that. Don't pretend it was luck. You carried us when it mattered. I didn't answer right away. My hand slipped into my pocket, fingers brushing over my father's coin. The cold metal steadied me like it always did. Finally, I looked at Ramirez. I didn't do it for them. I did it because walking away would have meant my father's lessons died with him. He gave me a small nod, the kind that said he understood. The next morning was graduation day. Boots shined, uniforms pressed. We stood in formation as the flag rose with the sun. The anthem played, echoing across the parade ground, and every soldier stood tall. I held my salute a little tighter than before, my chest heavy with something more than pride. It felt like a promise fulfilled. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Coleman. His shoulders were slumped, his face pale. He didn't look at me. Couldn't. For the first time, he was the ghost in the crowd. After the ceremony, the commander passed through the ranks, shaking hands. When he stopped in front of me, his eyes held steady. He didn't smile, didn't need to. He just gave a single nod. The kind of nod you can't mistake. The kind that says, you belong here. My throat tightened, but I returned the nod without a word. That was enough. Later that night, back in the barracks, the squad was quieter than usual. No bragging, no shouting, just a soft hum of voices, boots being packed, gear folded for the last time. Ramirez walked by my bunk, paused, and said, so what now? I turned the coin in my hand, the metal warm now from my grip. Now, I said, I keep earning it, every damn day. When the lights went out, I lay there in the dark, listening to the steady breathing of the men around me. For the first time since I arrived, I didn't feel alone. I felt part of something, not because they finally accepted me, but because I proved, through every humiliation, every long run, every moment I wanted to quit, that I would not break. And the truth is, that's all any of us can hope for. To stand tall when the world tries, to push us down, to keep going when every part of us screams to stop, to honor the ones who came before us by refusing to quit. That night I held my father's coin one last time before sleep took me, and I whispered to the silence, I earned it. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The final image lingers. Walker standing beneath the American flag at dawn, boots planted firm, eyes steady as the wind pulls at his uniform. Behind him, the squad lines up in silence. No cheers, no jeers, just the quiet respect of soldiers who've seen the truth. Even Coleman, once full of pride, lowers his gaze as the commander gives Walker a single nod, a gesture small in motion, but heavy in meaning. In that moment, the man they mocked is no longer an outsider. He is one of them, equal, earned, unshaken. And that's the lesson this story leaves behind. Injustice and prejudice will always test us, sometimes in front of a crowd eager to watch us fail. The silence of others can feel as heavy as the insults thrown in our face. But strength isn't proven in shouting matches or quick retaliation. It's in the quiet endurance, the resilience to keep moving forward when no one believes you can. Actions speak louder than words. When the storm hit, Walker didn't argue. He acted. And in acting, he turned humiliation into honor, prejudice into brotherhood, and silence into respect. This is more than a story about one soldier. It's about the truth that lives in every formation, every barracks, every battlefield. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but only if you refuse to break. We all carry scars, we all carry weight, but it's how we rise under fire that defines us. If this story struck something in you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments. Moments where you had to stand your ground, or times when dignity carried you through. If you felt the power of this journey, hit the like button to show support and subscribe so you won't miss the next stories we share. Until then, stand tall, stay strong, and remember, you are never alone in this fight.